What's up, everybody? Welcome back to my channel. I haven't posted an actual video in a long time, but I go live at least once or twice a month, so I try to keep my channel up with that. With all that being said, there has been some news that happened yesterday, Monday Night Raw. So the show was decent. We watched the show, we enjoyed it. Didn't even get the chance to discuss Raw because everything has changed because of Sasha Banks and Naomi walking out of Monday Night Raw. Now, the consensus that you're going to get online with various reports is about 3 or 4 different stories. So to just make sure you understand what really happened, this was not about unsafe workers. This was not about money. This was not about power or position. This walkout was in response to how the booking for the women's tag team belts were being done. And because of that piss poor booking, the result and ended up being Naomi and Sasha both walked out. And I think the situation was led by Sasha, and Naomi was like, I'm with you because we tag team champions. We deserve to be seen on television, to which I say they are 100% right. Now, I see a lot of comparisons of their walkout to Toni Storm's and Jeff Hardy's, but let me make sure we make this clear. Sasha and Naomi went through the proper channels. They challenged the damn creative from the beginning. They talked to the higher ups. They thought things would be rectified, and by the time the show got ready to air, when they got the final script for the show, it wasn't fixed. They tried to rectify it again, and no one was budging on what they were going to do. Therefore, they said, you know what? We're going to go. And they left. They were not leaving in the middle of a match. They did not walk out in the middle of the show. They did not walk out during a show that they actually were in the middle of filming. They didn't do any of that. They walked out before they even had the opportunity to film any vignettes, any promos, or anything. They were gone. So Becky Lynch pitched the fact that they should use that as a means of changing the match. Because it was supposed to be a 6-pack challenge with Naomi, Sasha, Piper. No, it was Naomi, Sasha, Piper, Nikki, Asuka, and Becky. Those were the 6 women that were supposed to be in the match. They didn't want to do that. They felt like they should have been trying to move into the program of setting up the feud between her Boss and Glow, or Legit Glow, whatever they want to call themselves, Boss and Glow, and Nikki Ash and Piper Nevin. They wanted to set that up. So that's what they were doing. And that's what they wanted to do. And that's what they pitched in response to them being in this 6-pack challenge. It was shot down immediately. Now, there are other rumors out there where they're saying that the producers were telling them to fix their attitude, that the producers were bucking against Vince McMahon being okay with Sasha and them not being okay with what they were handed. And one thing that I really don't like about this is the double standard that is set in place. When you think about guys like Roman and Kevin Owens and Seth Rollins, they're allowed to challenge the producers and creative team, even Vince McMahon himself. And when it makes sense, they will change things. Roman Reigns has carte blanche to pretty much do whatever he wants. Whereas someone who has been at the pinnacle of the WWE, like Sasha Banks has been for years, you would think that she would have more power and control over the way that she is portrayed and her creative status. But that is not the case, which leads me to believe that this is misogynistic bullshit, and I just don't like it. Another narrative that I'm very pissed about is a lot of people going at these girls' necks and calling them unprofessional. There's a difference between the professionalism that Naomi and Sasha displayed and the professionalism that Toni Storm and Jeff Hardy displayed. So to wrap this up, let me explain. Like I said earlier, the women went through this in the proper way. They made sure they contacted the higher ups and voiced their frustration. And when that was not falling on the right ears, they then acted in the most extreme way that they could to get people to understand that they were not happy. They weren't going to go along with this. And that is the proper way you're supposed to do it. When all else fails, and nobody is listening and everyone is continuing to go in the direction that they want to go and completely ignoring your feelings and the things that you are trying to get them to understand in regards to it making sense for television and storyline, then walking out makes sense. That is the only play you have left. And they did everything they were supposed to do that led up to that. They were not unprofessional. They were as professional as they could be leading up to Monday Night Raw. They did not leave Raw destitute. If you really want to know the truth, that is the way Raw should have went from the beginning. It was stupid to set the six pack challenge up. It was dumb. If you were gonna do a 6-pack challenge, then you should have had Carmella, Vega, or you could have put anybody else in that match over Sasha and Naomi. You were trying to put as many big names in this match as you could, and to be honest with you, it didn't make any sense. It was stupid. Okay, now you're mad at Sasha and Naomi, so you put out this bullshit press release, and the press release villainized them as if they were the issue and WWE weren't, when in fact the WWE were the entire issue. So one, WWE owes Sasha and Beyond and Naomi a public apology. Number two, they owe them an apology behind closed doors. And number three, they better figure out a way to rectify this. Because now you have created a narrative that Sasha and Naomi are difficult to work with. And we all know that that's not true. I have never heard one bad thing about Naomi or Sasha in terms of their work ethic and their capability backstage. 90% of the time, 99% of the time, 100% of the time, those women are always regarded as the nicest people you can meet, especially Naomi. Befriends everybody. Sasha's one of the best people to work with backstage in terms of her ring work and being able to structure good matches. They are both excellent at that. So it's odd to me that they would now be deemed difficult to work with, or they would directly put the blame on them by overtly having it appear as if they were attacking other superstars in the company that they were supposed to work with, these superstars that they just worked with the week prior. But you guys let me know what you think. I think that this is a bunch of bullshit. I do think that this story is getting bigger. It's gaining more legs. Bigger outlets are taking this story on, and it is not looking good for WWE. They have got to get ahead of this and fix this now. And I'm not talking about fixing it in a public eye. I'm talking about rectifying it for your superstars, because you're the one who is causing the issue. If it doesn't make sense, it doesn't make sense. And a superstar should be able to challenge the status of a current creative decision and move forward from there. They should have a say so in how their creative goes in terms of their storylines, especially when they're champions. If it makes sense and they're dropping the titles, fine. If it makes sense and they're getting new opponents, fine. But if you're taking the tag team champions and putting them in a possible title match, what point does it make to have them as tag team champions if they are competing for a single division belt or an opportunity at that belt? Put the women who are no longer in tag team contingency in those types of matches. That way you don't have to worry about people being upset. You could also be setting up the women's tag team division, because it seems like you don't give a shit about it and you keep leaving it floundering. And whenever you get the opportunity to have them defend or fight with those titles, no one really cares about it. And the reason why they don't care is because of you. So WWE, you gotta fix this. You got work to do. And you really, really, really better learn how to grease those wheels and beg for those women's forgiveness for what you've done in terms of how you've treated them over the last couple of hours, because they have deserved better. Those women have been fully dedicated to this company for years. Sasha Banks has been a standout superstar, as has Naomi. And for you to go out there and put the narrative out there that they are difficult to work with, or they're causing difficulties in the locker room because they don't want to work with certain workers because they're uncomfortable, is a bunch of trash. And I'll say this and I'll go. For all of you who are all on the internet popping your gums and running your mouth talking about Sasha and Naomi are unprofessional and disrespectful, I'd want to hear what you think they should have done in response to how they've reacted to what they were going through for the last couple of weeks. I want to know what you think they should have done. Because in my mind, they did everything they were supposed to do. They went through the proper channels. They talked to the right people. They didn't just walk out in the middle of a show. They didn't just walk out because they weren't booked, or they felt like they weren't, they were tired and they didn't want to do it anymore. They walked out because they felt like they were being disrespected. The tag team titles were not being regarded. They were being used as an afterthought. And because they are superstars and they have big names, they were being used in that final match to push the match forward, when they could have just went with the narrative of Asuka and Becky from the very beginning, because that's what we all expected from what we saw last week. Making the six-pack challenge was unnecessary, because we don't need a six-pack challenge to decide who Bianca was going to go up against at Hell in a Cell. It was pretty easy. It was either going to be one Asuka or one Becky or both. Either way, they were going to have the match. But y'all have it out in the comments. I find it very disrespectful that a lot of y'all are going at Sasha and Naomi, but y'all didn't have nothing to say about Toni Storm or Jeff Hardy leaving. Y'all pretty much cited it as mental health reasons, and they had every right to do it. But Sasha and Naomi somehow are unprofessional. It's not right.